On the third day of the Cold War with my boyfriend, I finally couldn't suppress the longing in my heart and went to see him. To my surprise, I overheard him and his childhood sweetheart belittling me behind my back. Yara is just an ordinary country girl. Who else can she cling to besides me? I bet she'll beg me to take her back in less than a week. So in his eyes, we weren't in a relationship. Instead, he saw me as someone clinging to him for a better life. My boyfriend's childhood sweetheart posted a photo on her social media, showing my boyfriend helping her change a light bulb at her house. Her caption read, "After all these twists and turns over the past 20 years, the one who stayed by my side in the end is still you," followed by a heart emoji. Brian and I met in college. It was love at first sight for me, and I pursued him for over half a year before he agreed to date me. Only after we started dating did I learn he had a childhood friend and neighbor named Mia. However, she had a boyfriend at the time, and after we got together, he kept a respectful distance from Mia. Never did I expect that once Mia broke up with her boyfriend, they would become this close again. I was holding back a surge of frustration and called Brian. "Where are you now?" Brian sounded impatient on the other end of the line. "Mia's light bulb is flickering, so I'm changing it for her." "What's up?" I let out a cold laugh. "The motion sensor light at our front door has been flickering. I've been asking you to fix it forever, and you always said you didn't have time. But now you suddenly have plenty of free time?" After starting work, Brian moved in with me. This apartment was bought with my mortgage, and it's quite small. Brian always joked that it felt like living in a birdcage. If I say too much, I get angry and tell him not to stay, but he just laughs and says I'm quick to anger, that he's willing to live in any kind of house for me. Last week, the motion sensor light at the door flickered. I asked Brian to change it, but this week, he kept coming home late and leaving early, saying he had no time. Turns out, all his time was spent with Mia. Hearing me say this, Brian seemed a little displeased. "Why do you always compare yourself to Mia? She just broke up with her boyfriend and lives alone. No one helps her. If I don't, how will she manage as a girl by herself?" I couldn't hold back my retort. "What about her dad? Her brother? Can't they help? Does this light bulb really have to be changed by you?" Brian was furious. "Can you stop being unreasonable? Her father is getting old, who would dare ask him to climb up and down changing light bulbs? Mia's brother is married now, and she doesn't feel comfortable bothering him all the time." I really wanted to retort, "So it's okay to bother you instead?" But then, what was the point? Continuing this topic would only lead to endless arguments. I sighed. "What time will you be back?" Hearing the softness in my tone, Brian no longer seemed angry. He teased, "Miss your husband already? Don't worry, I'll be back soon." But I waited until the food turned cold, and he still didn't return. With an expressionless face, I dumped the entire meal into the trash bin, as if something else had been discarded along with it. When I woke up the next day, Brian still hadn't come back. I checked my phone, no messages from him. I resisted the urge to call and confront him, and over the next 3 days, Brian remained missing, as if he had vanished from the face of the earth. And so, this one-sided Cold War between Brian and me began. If you won't reach out to me, then I won't reach out to you either. But by the third day, I could no longer suppress the longing in my heart and took the initiative to go looking for him. Before heading over, I rehearsed countless possible opening lines in my mind. Things like, "Is it too presumptuous of me to come see you like this?" Or, "If I make the first move, will you think I'm being weak?" Or maybe, upon seeing him, I'd just pout and say, "Why haven't you come to find me?" But I never expected that after entering Brian's house, I would hear Mia's voice coming from the bedroom. Mia's voice was sweet. "Brian, you've taken care of me for 3 days without seeing Yara. Won't she be angry? It seems Yara hasn't called you for days." I stopped walking towards the bedroom, wanting to know how Brian would reply. "Yara is just an ordinary girl from the countryside. Who else can she cling to for a better life besides me? Within a week, she'll definitely come begging to me." The familiar voice carried a careless coldness. So in his eyes, we weren't in love, I was merely clinging to him? Yes, Brian's family background is excellent. His father is a high-level executive, and his mother runs a law firm. Meanwhile, my parents run a breakfast stall in a small town. Looking back now, I really was reaching above my station. I wiped the tears that had unknowingly spilled down my face and turned to leave this suffocating place. I didn't want to stay and argue with Brian. In the end, I'd only be the one left humiliated. Yet when I turned, I accidentally kicked the flower pot by the door. I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. What I feared most always seemed to find me. Hearing the commotion, Brian immediately ran out. "Who's there?" When he came out and saw me, he also froze. "Yara." With reddened eyes, I looked at him. "Sorry to disturb you both." Panic flashed in Brian's eyes. "Mia's had a fever these past few days, so I've been busy taking care of her, that's why." "So you didn't have time to contact me, is that it?" I cut him off. "Is this supposed to be an explanation? Do you really think this excuse holds water?" I gave a bitter laugh. A boyfriend who's too busy taking care of another woman to contact his own girlfriend, does that even sound reasonable to you? Brian's voice rose again. He always tried to mask his guilt with volume whenever he was in the wrong. "What do you mean, another woman? Mia's been like a sister to me for over 20 years. I treat her like family." I took a deep breath, digging my nails into my palm. "Don't change the subject. I don't care if you see her as a sister or something more. The fact is, you've been neglecting your girlfriend for her. If you're so worried about her, why don't you just be with her and take care of her forever then?" Brian narrowed his eyes at me. "What do you mean?" My heart ached faintly. This was the man I had loved for 5 years, the one who always made my heart flutter sweetly at the mere thought of him. Yet now, I had no choice but to make the most rational decision. "That's exactly what you think it means. Let's break up. After all, a country bumpkin like me isn't worthy of a city girl like you." Brian's expression darkened slightly. "Fine. Don't come crying to me when you regret this later." At this moment, Mia came out of the bedroom, her face pale, looking pitiful and delicate. "Brian, don't argue with Yara because of me. Hurry up and explain it to her." Then, she turned to me with an anxious expression, her body swaying weakly as if barely able to stand. "Yara, Brian only brought me home and took care of me because I had a fever. There's really nothing between us. Brian has been thinking about you nonstop these past few days." Brian hugged Mia protectively, his face full of concern. "You're still not well, just lie down." "Why did you get up?" "I'll handle all this. Don't worry." Seeing Brian and Mia flaunt their affection in front of me made me suffocate with disgust. "Come and get your things from my place as soon as possible." Brian held Mia and walked toward the bedroom without looking back. "I don't want that pile of junk anymore. Just throw it away directly." When I walked out of Brian's house, the sky suddenly started to rain. I looked up at the pitch-black night sky. Was even the heavens sympathizing with my heartbreak? Just then, an umbrella suddenly blocked my view. I turned to look behind me, and a tall, well-built figure came into view. His handsome face carried a hint of concern. "Are you crying? What happened?" I was a little surprised. "Ronan?" Ronan and Brian are also brothers who grew up together. I had only seen Ronan a few times at gatherings, but we never had any interaction. I never thought I'd run into him here today. He reached out as if to wipe away my tears, but then hesitated and withdrew his hand. "It's too late. Let me take you home. It's raining, and it's hard to get a taxi." I shook my head, wanting to refuse. "No need, I can go back by myself." But Ronan still insisted on waiting with me for a ride. On that chilly autumn night, having just been caught in the rain, a gust of wind made me shiver uncontrollably. Then, a warm jacket draped over my shoulders. I looked up at Ronan, who rubbed his nose somewhat sheepishly and said, "I just wore this jacket today, it's not dirty." I should have exchanged a few polite words with him, but I was feeling too heavy-hearted to muster the energy for conversation. I just pulled the jacket tighter around myself and murmured softly, "Thank you." When the car I called arrived, Ronan said a few words to the driver, then told me he'd noted down the license plate number and asked me to text him when I got home. Then, very naturally, he had me take out my phone and, after fiddling with it himself, added his contact information. Just as I stepped through my front door, Ronan texted me, "Did you get home?" I replied with a simple and started packing Brian's belongings into a cardboard box. Most of Brian's clothes and items were brand name goods, so I thought about mailing the box back to him. Then I couldn't help but laugh at myself with self-mockery. My small-town mentality really was inescapable. No wonder people looked down on me. He was wealthy middle class, someone who wouldn't care about the cost of these things. After all, he had already told me to throw them away like trash. If I insisted on sending them back, he'd probably think I was still hung up on him and trying to cling to our past. After tossing the box away, my heart suddenly felt hollow. As I looked around the now somewhat empty room, I couldn't hold back my tears any longer and broke down sobbing. Just this one night, I allow myself only to cry for tonight. After tonight, I'll forget Brian, forget this relationship, and start a brand new life. In the following days, my life gradually returned to calm. I began to get used to life without Brian, throwing myself wholeheartedly into my work. So you see, love isn't a necessity in life. Even after a breakup, don't I still have to pull myself together and keep striving for survival? Unexpectedly, during a company dinner at a restaurant, I ran into Brian again after our breakup. He and Mia were seated right next to our reserved table. When he saw me, he still looked a bit surprised, immediately letting go of Mia's hand. Then, as if remembering we had already broken up, he glanced at me and put his hand back around Mia's waist. I turned my head, pretending not to see them, and continued chatting and laughing with my coworkers. Just then, Mia suddenly greeted me, "Yara, are you here for dinner with your colleagues too?" I ignored her meaningless remark. She only spoke to me to flaunt the fact that she was with Brian. But Brian became displeased when he saw that I didn't respond to his sweetheart. "Didn't you hear Mia talking to you? Where are your manners?" I took a deep breath. I really didn't want to bother with idiots, but they just never knew their place and kept haunting me like ghosts. I turned to Brian and said, "A decent ex should be as silent as the grave, not strut around with the mistress they cheated with and demand that the ex greet her like it's the most natural thing." Ever since Mia greeted me, the people around us had been subtly watching. When they heard me drop such a bombshell, their eyes lit up instantly, switching into full-on gossip mode. Hearing me say this, Mia immediately looked aggrieved. "Brian and I have known each other since we were kids. If we're talking about who came first, isn't Yara the one who arrived later?" Brian also chimed in, "Don't spout nonsense. What if people misunderstand Mia because of you? Don't you know how important a girl's reputation is?" I stared at Brian expressionlessly. "Isn't what I said the truth? Or do you think my reputation doesn't matter, so you let your mistress distort the facts like this? You've known each other since childhood, does that mean you started dating back then? When I was dating you, your mistress had a boyfriend, didn't she? Is that arriving later what you call me?" I deliberately used the term mistress to provoke Mia and Brian, a shameless pair of scumbags. Who gave them the right to be so brazenly arrogant in front of me? Brian slammed his cup on the table in a fit of anger. "Yara, how can you be so vicious? Every word out of your mouth is about the other woman. You sound like a petty, shrewish woman. Aren't you ashamed of yourself?" I thought I had completely moved on from Brian, but hearing him describe me like that made my nose sting with the urge to cry. But I didn't want to show weakness in front of them, so I fought back my tears and kept my mouth shut. I was afraid that if I opened it, the tears would spill out uncontrollably. Then, a cold voice cut through the tension. "Brian, isn't this a bit too ungentlemanly of you? Is that how you talk to a girl you once dated?" Tears still blurred my eyes. I lifted my head and saw that tall, straight figure once more. Brian froze for a moment before frowning at Ronan. "Ronan, this is between me and my girlfriend, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with you, does it?" Ronan corrected him, "Ex-girlfriend." Brian's gaze turned icy as he looked at Ronan. "What do you mean by that?" Ronan's gaze didn't waver. "If you don't know how to cherish such a great girl, there will naturally be others who see her as a treasure." Brian stood up and threw a punch at Ronan. What kind of brother are you? Ronan blocked the punch. From what standpoint are you hitting me? Before your breakup, I suppressed my feelings, but isn't it over between you two now? Brian's eyes turned dangerously cold. We've been brothers for over 20 years. You'd steal my woman? Are you even human? Ronan corrected him again, ex-girlfriend. Stop referring to her as your woman. Brian clenched his fists, about to swing again, but Mia quickly grabbed his arm and looked at Ronan pitifully. Ronan, we've had over 20 years of friendship. Do you really have to make things so awkward? Ronan glanced at me. No choice. Love is just that unreasonable, whether or not I feel a spark isn't something I can control. Suddenly, Brian smirked, his tone laced with malice. Oh? Is a woman I've already had really that irresistible to you? I didn't even have time to get angry before Ronan's fist slammed into Brian's face. Mia, standing beside them, screamed, Ronan, what are you doing? How could you hit Brian? Ronan grabbed Brian by the collar. Are you even a man? How dare you talk about a girl like that? Brian shoved Ronan away, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, then gave me a cold smirk, his tone full of smugness. Did I say anything wrong? You like Yara, but too bad she's into me. Yes, I did like Brian very much, and I was the one who pursued him initially. But now I truly don't love him anymore. The passion I once felt has turned to ashes in this moment. I coldly looked at Brian and said, yes, I used to adore you. I chased after you recklessly, even at the cost of my own pride. But all that is in the past now. I don't love you anymore. In fact, everything you're doing now disgusts me. Brian's face showed shock, as if he couldn't believe that I, the once obedient and docile me, would call him disgusting. Then I turned to Ronan, curling my lips into a faint smile. They say the best way to get over one relationship is to start a new one. If you don't mind. I hadn't finished speaking when Ronan quickly interrupted, I don't mind. I agree. I admit that saying these things to Ronan now is partly out of spite toward Brian. He treated me as something he could discard at will, yet wouldn't allow me to be pursued by other worthy men. His disgusting possessiveness and the arrogant assumption that I would always love him made me want to do something about it. Besides, having a great guy stand up for me and openly say he loves me did give me a little flutter. Why not give it a try? Why not give ourselves and each other a chance? At this moment when I wanted to speak, the heavy stone pressing on my heart seemed to have been thrown away, and I instantly felt much lighter. Mia and Brian stared at us in disbelief, their mouths opening as if they wanted to say something. I had no patience left to argue with them over meaningless words. After saying goodbye to my colleague, I took the initiative to hold Ronan's hand. The air here reeks a little. Shall we go outside to talk? Ronan's hand trembled slightly as he kept nodding, too emotional to know what to say, utterly unlike the composed and resourceful man I remembered. I had seen him a few times at gatherings and always thought he was aloof and hard to approach, never expecting him to be so gentle and shy. The sound of dishes shattering on the floor echoed behind me, but I didn't turn around. I just kept walking calmly, holding Ronan's hand. When he walked me to the entrance of my building, I glanced at our still joined hands and joked, "Want to come up? Isn't this moving a bit too fast?" Ronan immediately let go of my hand as if he had been burned. No. 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 I just feel like I'm dreaming, like a beautiful dream has come true, and it's all a bit overwhelming. Then he looked into my eyes with utter seriousness. I don't think I've ever confessed to you properly. I like you, no, I really, really like you. From the moment I first saw you at that gathering, I knew I was a goner. Will you be my girlfriend? I met Ronan's gaze and replied just as solemnly, even though my last relationship ended not long ago, I'm serious about giving this a try with you. We can see where this goes, but if you ever feel it's not working. Ronan cut me off, there are no ifs. I'll do my very best to fulfill all the responsibilities and duties a boyfriend should. Then he grinned and ruffled my hair playfully, I won't give you any chance to dump me. I smiled sweetly at him, well, that depends on your performance. Ronan was indeed a very qualified boyfriend. But perhaps because it was his first relationship, he always seemed a bit nervous around me and blushed easily. Since I wanted to attend the concert, Ronan did a lot of research. He even joined the fan club group, and upon learning that our seats were quite far from the stage, he splurged on the closest tickets available. He also ordered light sticks from the fan club. He said he wanted to give me the best experience possible. This made me think back to my university days when Brian and I attended our first concert together. I had bought both our tickets with money earned from my part-time job. But Brian thought chasing stars was embarrassing and refused to go with me. I begged him for a long time before he finally agreed. But once we entered the venue, he complained again, saying the seats I bought were too far back. He couldn't even see the performers' faces clearly. He grumbled that we might as well have watched the live stream at home, questioning why I wasted so much money on something so meaningless. Looking back now, I realize there was a hint of disdain in his attitude back then. He even said someone like me would never make it big. In short, my first concert experience was awful, all because of Brian. But now, Ronan understands and supports my interests, doing everything he can to give me the best possible experience. He was so thoughtful that he even considered how the long wait before the concert would mean nearby milk tea shops and coffee shops would be crowded with fans, making proper rest impossible, so he booked a hotel room in advance. Blushing, he explained to me that he absolutely had no ulterior motives and just wanted me to rest well so I'd have more energy to enjoy the celebrity's performance at the concert that night. I reached out and touched Ronan's flushed face, saying, "So considerate. What should I do? I'm falling for you more and more." In others' eyes, I seem well-behaved and obedient, but in reality, I'm very direct when it comes to emotions. I love expressing my feelings openly, though this approach caused me pain in my last relationship. But I think it's just because I met the wrong person. When both parties in a relationship are like silent as a clam, that's when conflicts easily arise. Ronan held on to my hand as I tried to leave, then fall for me a little more. During the most intense part of the concert, Ronan and I kissed. It was our first kiss. That kiss seemed to flip a switch, igniting Ronan's skin hunger. After that kiss, whenever we were alone, Ronan always wanted to hug me and kiss me. Amused, I pinched his cheek and said, "Someone's face is getting thicker and thicker. Where did that handsome guy who used to blush so easily go?" Ronan leaned in with a smile. "Why be shy around your own girlfriend?" Feeling Ronan's mischievous hands, I giggled and dodged backward. "Ronan, you're being bold." Since we started dating, unless he was truly tied up with overtime work, Ronan would bring me breakfast and take me to work every morning, and pick me up on time after work in the evening. He would then take me out for delicious food, and like most couples, we went to movies and shopping together. But I have to vent, this man who looks like a cold, noble young master actually loves to eat extremely spicy hot pot. Today, when Ronan came to pick me up after work again, I eyed him warily. "I'm warning you, no more taking me out for hot pot." Ronan looked at me with amusement. "That expression of yours makes it seem like I'm about to drag you off to sell you somewhere." I huffed. "You probably want to sell me to the hot pot restaurant, so you can eat hot pot every day." Ronan nodded in compromise. "Don't worry, we won't have hot pot today. My Yara is far more valuable than hot pot." When we arrived at the mall, I watched as Ronan's feet instinctively headed toward the skewer shop. I tightly grabbed his arm. "No skewers either." Ronan glanced regretfully at the skewer shop's sign. I grumbled unhappily. "We've been eating hot pot too often lately, my mouth is covered in sores from the heat." Ronan cupped my face. "Where?" I pouted my lips to show him. Ronan leaned in and kissed my lips. "Such a poor little thing. Let's eat something light today then." Blushing, I pushed Ronan away, when suddenly a surprised voice came from behind. "Ronan?" I turned around and, as expected, it was Mia and Brian again. These ghosts just won't leave us alone. Behind us, Brian's face darkened while Mia looked shocked. "Ronan, are you really with Yara now?" Ronan reached out and wrapped his arm around my waist. "Yeah, are you guys here to eat too?" Mia replied, "Yeah, wanna come along?" Before I could answer, Ronan declined. "No, thanks. We couples prefer to be alone." Hearing Ronan's reply, Brian's face darkened even further, radiating a chilling aura. Mia smiled at me and asked, "What do you think, Sister Yara? Don't you want to join us?" As she spoke, she glanced at Brian beside her. I couldn't help but find it somewhat amusing. Why did they all seem to think I still had lingering feelings for Brian? I kindly advised Mia, "Your habit of casually calling everyone sister isn't a good one. In ancient times, only concubines and mistresses called the wife sister. If you keep haphazardly calling people sister, others might think you have way too many husbands." Mia's expression darkened as she said plaintively, "I just thought that since Sister Yara is a few years older than me, I'd address her respectfully. If you don't like it, I won't call her that anymore." Her tearful expression was truly stirring, but it's a pity even Brian's attention wasn't on her this time. Brian's eyes were fixed on me intensely, and Ronan stepped forward to shield me. "Isn't it rather impolite to keep staring at someone else's girlfriend like that?" Brian clenched his fists and sneered, "Will she always be your girlfriend?" Ronan's face darkened instantly. "Stay away from Yara. She's not someone you can covet." Mia felt uneasy upon hearing Brian's words and tightened her grip on his arm. "Brian, our reservation time is almost up." Brian walked past us with Mia, deliberately bumping into Ronan's shoulder before throwing him a provocative glance over his shoulder. Ronan's arm around my waist tightened slightly, and I irritably patted his hand. "Let go, you're going to break my waist." Ronan looked at me with unease in his eyes. "You won't leave me, right?" I ruffled his hair, "Just be good to me, and behave." After that, Ronan practically became the model boyfriend, attentive and clingy. Once we'd grown tired of the restaurants and food courts nearby, I started taking Ronan to some of my hidden gem street stalls and hole-in-the-wall shops. But just as I was about to bring Ronan into my favorite cold noodle place, I suddenly got a message from Brian, "Don't take him there. That place is our memory." I frowned and glanced around, not seeing Brian anywhere. Ronan looked at me with concern, "What's wrong?" I shook my head, "It's nothing." Then, holding Ronan's hand firmly, I walked into the cold noodle shop we frequented. My phone vibrated again with a message, "Please." Expressionless, I deleted the message. Once I had fallen out of love, I could be more ruthless than anyone. Fortunately, Brian didn't barge in or do anything during our meal. But after Ronan took me home, Brian texted me again, "Yara, could you open the door? I want to see you." After the breakup, I blocked all of Brian's contacts, and today's messages came from an unknown number. I blocked this number too, with no intention of replying. Then, I received another message from a different unknown number, "I really, really miss you. Open the door, or I'll keep knocking, I can't guarantee it won't disturb your neighbors." I put down my phone, swallowed my anger, and opened the door. Brian looked haggard outside, but his eyes lit up the moment he saw me. "Yara." As he spoke, he tried to rush forward to hug me, but I pushed him away. "Brian, are you insane? We broke up. Do you even know what broke up means? Do you realize your behavior is harassment?" Brian looked at me with a sorrowful expression. "I was wrong, Yara. I thought I loved Mia, but after being apart from you all this time, I realized you're the woman I love most. I can't live without you. Can we get back together?" Hearing Brian's words, I grew even angrier. "You're always so self-absorbed. Back when I loved you, I could tolerate all your moods. But now that I don't love you anymore, who do you think you are? You have no right to make any demands of me. You can't just be with whoever you want or get back together whenever you feel like it. The world doesn't revolve around you." Brian looked sorrowful as he tried to reach for my hand, but I quickly stepped back. "Yara, please stop saying you don't love me anymore, okay? I know I was wrong, and I promise I'll change. Just give me another chance, please? We had 5 sweet years together, have you forgotten all of that?" I sneered. "Isn't it you who forgot? You were the one who betrayed our relationship first. And you don't love me now, you're just unwilling to accept that something you once owned now belongs to someone else." Watching Brian's face grow paler, I continued, if I were single right now, you'd never come back begging for reconciliation. Instead, you'd just be glad you dumped some unwanted girl from the countryside. But now that you see a man far better than you is with me, you suddenly think I'm in demand. That's just your rotten nature showing. Don't talk about love, it makes me sick. Brian seemed utterly devastated, as if he had suffered a heavy blow. No, that's not what I meant, he said dispiritedly. I pushed Brian out the door. I don't care what you meant. Don't bother me again. With a loud bang, I slammed the door shut, paying no more attention to Brian outside, who was wallowing in his devoted lover persona. Just a few minutes later, the doorbell rang. Irritated, I rushed to the door, ready to scold Brian again. But when I opened it, my angry words stuck in my throat. Ronan? Didn't you go back already? Ronan waved the scarf in his hand. You left this behind. I came to return it to you. I pulled Ronan over, his hands were cold, and I frowned. Have you been waiting here for a long time? Ronan hugged me, resting his chin on the top of my head, and responded quietly, I heard your conversation with Brian. I wanted to look up at him, but he held me so tightly that I couldn't break free. Ronan's voice was filled with relief and happiness. I'm really glad you turned Brian down. When he asked to get back together, you have no idea how scared I was that you might say yes. He kissed my hair, then cupped my face and looked directly into my eyes. I know you shared 5 years together, and those memories can't be erased, but I'll do better, let our happiness overwrite the memories of that other person. What can I say? I have the same flaws you mentioned. I envy Brian for having those 5 years with you. Can you give me the rest of your life instead? I kissed Ronan's eyes, which held a hint of nervousness. Are you proposing to me? Ronan's eyes instantly lit up as he asked eagerly, can I propose? You'll say yes, won't you? I gently patted his flushed face. Why don't you try it and find out? Ronan meticulously prepared an elaborate proposal. Amidst a shower of fluttering petals, I smiled and accepted his marriage proposal. On the wedding day, neither Brian nor Mia showed up, not that I had invited them in the first place. During the banquet, I received a text from an unknown number, I'm sorry. I deleted the text message, raised my glass, and walked toward my husband. I truly believe my future will be filled with happiness.